Alô, alô, som, testando. Alô, alô, som, testando. Alô. Alô, alô. Beleza. Beleza. Vamos lá.
There you are.
Not floating your boat, eh?
Well, there's no...
I'm stuck. Oh, my stars. I'm so happy to see you. I am Alexander, also known as the Iron Fist. And as you can see, I'm stuck here. Please, can you help me out of this? My thanks. 1,000 thanks. Just give me a good smack from the rear with something nice and big. And I'll pop clean out, I'm sure. Don't dally. There's no need to fret. I'm very well trained. Give it your all, I say. Well played, good sir. Well played. Though that mighty wallop of yours almost spelt the end of me. Well, I'm out now, and that's what counts. I thank you. And as a token of my appreciation, I'd like you to have this. Once again, the pleasure is mine. I am the warrior Jar known as Alexander. Iron Fist Alexander, in fact. I journey to the east, where I intend to further my education in the ways of war. And beyond these lands lie the scarlet, rot-blighted Kaled wilds. And upon their southern edge is Redmane Castle, in which a festival of combat is being held. I'd heard whispers of such festivities before. Doesn't the notion set your breast aflutter? I'm heading eastward to Redmane Castle on the southern edge of the sun. I've heard there's to be...
será que aconteceu o Simple? Por que ele desapareceu do cenário? As últimas aparições dele jogando algo foi Valorant, em uma stream que não parecia querer muito papo. No passado já rolaram vários rumores que ele iria migrar para o cenário competitivo de Valorant. Até então, ele não jogou nenhuma partida oficial de CS2 e já rolaram vários campeonatos. Por enquanto, ele tá sem time. O primeiro Major de CS2 vai acontecer em breve. Será que ele vai ficar de fora? Bom, até que enfim ele se pronunciou, mas não era o que todo mundo queria ouvir.
Do you want to let the world know, or are we losing simply? Going to Valorant? What's happening?
Yeah, it's actually hard to say, but yeah, I decided to retire. I decided to retire from competitive.
Essas são 10 facas Fade, o modelo que recebeu um dos melhores upgrades do CSGO pro CS2. E todas essas facas são pra vocês. O sorteio mensal é esse e já iniciou, com duração até fevereiro, então corre pra participar. Usando o meu cupom PRIMEIRA no KDrop.com, você ganha 10% bônus no depósito e pode participar desse sorteio. Bom, você já sabe que o KDrop é o maior site de abertura de caixas, né? E não precisa nem ter medo, ele é comprovadamente justo e tem caixa de todos os valores. Preencha o formulário que tá na descrição e pronto, já tá participando. O resultado é divulgado no meu canal e Instagram. O último time que o Simple jogou foi a Nave, né? E a Nave sempre teve a cara do Simple. Ele esteve lá por anos e conquistou muita coisa. Mas atualmente o time tá totalmente diferente. Olha só a lineup: Alexib, IM, Beat, JL e Wonderful. Quase ninguém daquele core campeão, apenas o Beat. A Nave investiu em jovens talentos e tá no top 4 do ranking atual. Bom, todo ano ocorre a premiação da HLTV de Top 20 Players, que premia os 20 melhores jogadores do ano. E é um ranking muito respeitado. O Simple já ganhou algumas vezes e até o Coldzera já levou esse prêmio. E a HLTV sempre divulga o ranking de forma decrescente, ou seja, divulga primeiro o 20º lugar, depois o 19º e vai indo até chegar no top 1, pra deixar um mistério. Até que chegou na hora do Simple e ele foi anunciado em 7º lugar. Ele tinha ficado em primeiro em 2021, em 2020 em segundo, 2019 em segundo, em 2018 em primeiro e só em 2017 que ele ficou pra baixo, na 8ª posição. E a resposta dele foi a seguinte: 0 CS2 Official Games, 7º lugar easy. Pra ser honesto, eu trocaria de lugar com o Frozen, ele merece mais. Se você não é o top 1, nada mais importa. Aquele jeitão meio que arrogante do Simple, né? Que tem que ser o melhor. Mas isso aqui abriu meu olho, mano. 0 jogos oficial do CS2, mano. Como assim? O cara não jogou nenhum campo de CS2, velho. Até então ele tava meio desaparecido. Que nem eu falei, fazia umas livezinhas de Valorant. E o último pronunciamento oficial sobre a carreira tinha sido em outubro de 2023. Que ele tava dando uma pausa e priorizando outras coisas naquele momento. E trabalhando em um projeto relacionado a CS2. E até considerou jogar de rifle em vez de AWP, porque já não tava tão impactante no CS2. Mas afinal de contas, o que ele tá aprontando? Essa premiação do HLTV do Top 20 que eu comentei anteriormente aconteceu em uma espécie de Oscar, um evento presencial, todo mundo bem vestido, traje de gala. O Simple não foi, mas decidiu fazer um pronunciamento. Não percam o evento de premiação da HLTV de hoje. Tem uma coisa que eu quero anunciar, fiquem ligados. Ele entrou ao vivo e falou isso daí.
Now, I saw you made a tweet today. A bit of an announcement that you wanted to make.
Yeah, you think it's time?
Do you want to let the world know, or are we losing simply? Going to Valorant? What's happening?
Yeah, it's actually hard to say, but yeah, I decided to retire. I decided to retire from competitive scene, and I know it's for some people know this, but some people don't know, and I just want them to know that I'm just kidding.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm not gonna slide #1 once again. And actually, I want to say that for past 1 year, I'm working with my new project. I'm working with my brother and our team. I'm practicing right now a lot to come back. In this project, I put my heart, my soul, and everything to teach people not just to play better competitive, but just for other people who want to play better in normal games with friends. And the launch is planned for April, and I cannot say more details, but you will know much more later.
Ufa, acho que isso aí deu um susto em muitos dos fãs. Na verdade, foi só uma brincadeira do Simple falando que ia se aposentar. Os rumores sobre isso eram muito grandes, então ele decidiu fazer essa brincadeira para depois anunciar que ele tá trabalhando em um projeto de CS2 educacional junto com o irmão dele. Então em abril de 2024 teremos o curso do Simple. Esse trailer de anúncio ele postou no Instagram dele junto com o irmão. E depois de quase 1 ano construindo esse projeto, tá quase pronto para ser lançado. Bom, o nome do projeto é All Stars e tem até o Instagram. A logo é esse S de All Stars ou alguma coisa relacionada a Simple, talvez. E olha só a foto que eles postaram. Ele tem várias coisas para te ensinar. Olha que cenário pica, galera. Super clean, só o Simple ali com uma mesa transparente e provavelmente ele ensinando a jogar. E se a gente perceber aqui na frente tem um quadradinho, tá meio desfocado, mas são ângulos diferentes do Simple. Então, umas 4 câmeras ali gravando ele, vai ser um conteúdo, mano, de ótima qualidade. O site já tá ativo, porém ainda não tem nada, ó. Se a gente entra no site, fica só essa imagem aqui, porque ainda não tem nada pronto. Porém, assim que sair o curso, eu devo comprar pra fazer um vídeo pra vocês e mostrar aqui como que é o curso do Simple, velho. Já tô ansioso pra fazer esse vídeo. Além disso, ele também falou de competitividade e que deve voltar em breve com um time. Não faço ideia quem vai estar e nem com quão breve vai ser. Talvez daqui a alguns meses, ele comentou. E no final ele até fez uma crítica ao CS2, que o jogo não tá tava tão bom. E galera, sendo sincero, a visão dele até que não tá tão errada. Ele tem o seu jeito um pouco arrogante, mas o CS2, querendo ou não, ainda tá no começo, ainda tá desenvolvendo. Eu acho que a iniciativa dele foi esperar o jogo estabelecer, deixa o CS2 arrumar o que tem que arrumar, ficar um jogo sólido de verdade. Aí sim ele vai voltar com o time no cenário competitivo. Mas ele disse também que tá treinando e tá melhorando sua habilidade individual, mano. Esse evento da HLTV foi muito brabo. Quem ganhou o top 1 a final foi o Zayu e o Nico ficou em segundo, mano. Tem até essa foto aí, mano, muito da hora. Os caras mereceram demais e jogaram muito nesse último ano. Teve uns pronunciamentos também muito bacanas, como por exemplo esse aí do Pacha Bíceps. Um alerta à Valve, mano. Cobrou ali na lata. Arrumei o jogo, ainda dá tempo, não tá muito bom. Valve, dá uma atenção.
And the last one, Valve, Counter-Strike, Mr. Gaben, please take care of our lovely game Counter-Strike. It's not too late.
O evento teve várias premiações da hora, galera, como highlight do ano, melhor coach, tudo que você possa imaginar, inclusive criador de conteúdo. Rapaziada, infelizmente fiquei fora dessa lista, mas meus parceiros Cachorro e Polex foram indicados. Ia ser muito da hora se eles ganhassem, mas quem ganhou foi o Trip Kicks Philly. E a meta para ano que vem é ser pelo menos nomeado para disputar esse troféu. Criador de conteúdo do ano, mano. Imagina que top, velho. Então calma, rapaziada, ainda vai ter Simple no CS2. Seja com esse projeto de ensinar CS pra galera, ou então com um time competitivo bem forte. Ou muito fraco também, né? Vai saber. Galera, tô aqui com meu parceiro Luquinhas, dá o salve, Lucas.
E aí, meus mano?
O que será que aconteceu sim?
Alright guys, Wes here, welcome back to the channel. So in case you weren't aware, there are a few rules in the gaming industry, but one of those rules is that From Software absolutely does not miss. They killed it last year with Armored Core 6, they changed the industry the year prior with Elden Ring, and now everyone is awaiting their next big release, which is Shadow of the Erdtree, the first paid expansion for Elden Ring. As of recording this video, Elden Ring is the single most awarded video game of all time, and many rightfully consider it as the best open world games ever made. So naturally, there is a ton of hype surrounding this DLC. In fact, with how dry 2024 is shaping up to be in terms of AAA games, Shadow of the Erdtree might actually end up being the biggest launch of the entire year. Now, if you've been waiting for some news and info about Shadow of the Erdtree, you are in luck, because we have some news that has just been discovered. It seems like the trailer might be happening earlier than we thought, which is really exciting. We have a ton of stuff to talk about in this video, so check the chapters for easy viewing, and let's get started. Now, while From Software has been pretty quiet about when they're planning on releasing the first major expansion for Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, we do know a handful of things officially, and there was a pretty massive leak that just came out of the Steam database that seems to suggest that we're either really close to a gameplay reveal or the official launch, or both. So officially, we know that the expansion has been in development for quite some time now, as From Software confirmed its development with a teaser back in February of 2023, which was roughly a year after the game released. Now, it's believed that the development started a little while before the teaser came out, and according to a number of trusted inside sources, this is going to be a huge expansion. Several sources have stated that Shadow of the Erdtree actually started development as 2 different expansions, but prior to the big reveal to the public, the decision was made to merge the 2 expansions into one gigantic one, which is the reason that the development has been taking so long. From Software is known for releasing huge expansions for their games, but with how gigantic Elden Ring is on its own, this is likely going to be their biggest DLC to date, especially if development started as 2 separate expansions. Despite From Software's silence on the official release date for Shadow of the Erdtree, a pretty huge leak started going around the other day after an unknown piece of DLC was added to the Steam database just recently. Before this, there were 4 pieces of DLC attached to Elden Ring, those being the bonus gesture, the digital art book, and the pre-purchase bundle from the game's launch and the adventure guide, which was added a few months later. The last DLC to be added to Elden Ring was 15 months ago, but earlier this month, a 5th piece of DLC was added, simply titled SteamDB Unknown App, and nobody knows what exactly it is. Now, as soon as this information went public, people started speculating over whether this was Shadow of the Erdtree or if this was in regards to something else. Now, some skeptics claim that this is simply updates to the Steam OS or other bug fixes, but I personally disagree. Updates like this wouldn't be listed in the Steam database as downloadable content, and on top of that, I really don't think From Software would be secretive about simple bug fixes like that. If they had a stability patch ready to go, they would just push it out. They wouldn't add it to the Steam database and then just sit on it for over a week without releasing it or even confirming confirming what it is. This is absolutely some kind of content patch, and I have a few theories as to what exactly we'll get from it once it goes live. The most obvious theory is that this unknown app is indeed Shadow of the Erdtree, meaning From Software is in the final stages of development and they're preparing everything for launch. This could mean that we're right around the corner from a trailer or a gameplay reveal, possibly in the next few weeks, and then the DLC will officially launch in February, roughly around the 2-year anniversary of the base game's launch, but we'll talk more about release dates and reveals in just a bit. Now, the second theory that I have about this quote-unquote unknown app, and this may not be what you guys want to hear, is that this is going to be some kind of smaller content update or cosmetic add-on to coincide with the Shadow of the Erdtree reveal, perhaps like a pre-order bonus for the actual DLC. So something like emotes, armor, cosmetic, stuff like that. Granted, while this isn't the best news, it would still mean that Shadow of the Erdtree is still very close to launch, because From Software wouldn't add something like this to the database unless the main event was right behind it. But with how massive of a release Shadow of the Erdtree is going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if there ends up being some kind of massive pre-order bonus attached to it. Remember guys, Elden Ring is a massive game, and I'm sure they're going to want as many pre-orders as possible, so to incentivize people via an in-game cosmetic or something that ties to Shadow of the Erdtree would be a really good way to do it. And not to mention, if this DLC is as big as we all think it's going to be, it will roughly be half the size of the base game, which on its own is bigger than most AAA games coming out nowadays. So From Software and their publisher Bandai Namco are going to be marketing this thing like crazy, which means pre-orders and special editions are likely. From everything that we've seen, Shadow of the Erdtree really seems like this is Bandai Namco and From Software's take on the Blood and Wine expansion, which if you guys have played that from The Witcher 3 is absolutely insane. It's just like Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty as well. Like, that's how big they're trying to go with this, it seems like. So whichever theory you want to buy into, Shadow of the Erdtree is very close to release at this point, and I don't think there's any way that we can get through all of 2024 without it releasing. Plus, with how many people are talking about the addition to the Steam database, it's entirely possible that From Software now speeds up their marketing since their cover is more or less blown. Heck, there may be even a teaser live by the time you see this video. Probably not. We can all huff on the hopium and dream. Now, for our next bit of news, there was recently an update on the official Bandai Namco Elden Ring playlist that was updated as of January 4th. Now, this playlist update could be a coincidence, as even the slightest changes to the playlist would show it as updated. Like guys, even sorting the videos would show it up as an update. I think what happened here is that one of the employees updated the playlist to adjust the position of one of the trailers in the Elden Ring playlist, and that's why it's showing up as updated. Now, this could mean that they're gearing up for the trailer release. They're doing a little bit of housekeeping and maintenance, get the playlist looking pretty in preparation for that big trailer hitting. It's also worth noting that the playlist does not show any unlisted or private videos, so I doubt they're going to upload the trailer until the day of. This is mainly to avoid a similar situation to the GTA 6 trailer that leaked the day before it was set to premiere. I'm sure the Bandai Namco probably saw that situation. They're like, nope, we are going to pass on all of that and just set the trailer live whenever everything is ready. And the playlist being updated does raise some suspicion, and as much as I would love to believe that this is definitive proof that the trailer will be dropping soon, it's just not enough proof. All this is a simple update to the trailer playlist that I don't even know if From Software has control of. This all leads up to the trailer and when could Shadow of the Erdtree release. According to the latest news and leaks, the release date for the DLC is speculated to be February 2024 or just next month. Now, a lot of this release date is mainly just speculation. It's also just industry trends. There's also the now deleted Thrustmaster controller collaboration, as well as the financial report from the Katakawa Corporation, which owns From Software. The release date for the DLC is currently rumored to be on or around the anniversary of Elden Ring's launch and around the 1-year anniversary of the Shadow of the Erdtree teaser. Elden Ring, of course, launched on the 25th, and the DLC was on the 28th. So if the rumored release date is at the end of February, it would make sense for the trailer to drop a 2 weeks before the expected launch to kind of give us a small taste of what's to come. I am super excited for this trailer to release. We've been all waiting for it for such a long time. Now February comes around and we don't get a teaser for early in the month. The likelihood of the DLC releasing in February is unlikely. However, it could be a situation where they just show the trailer for the DLC and then just shadow drop the DLC on the same day, which would be really fitting. It would absolutely break the internet, but I've got a feeling that they're not going to shadow drop it, as I'm sure they want to build up as much hype as possible and get as many of those pre-orders in as they can. There's been some discussions over whether whether or not Shadow of the Erdtree can actually hit the kind of sales expectations that Bandai Namco has for it, especially now that the game is closing in on 2 years old. Generally speaking, paid expansions for video games tend to release within 12 to 18 months of the initial launch. Obviously, this is MMOs excluded. From Software themselves have historically been very reliable with expansions for the games they make, typically releasing at least one in the first 6 months of the launch. Game development takes a long time nowadays, and Elden Ring is a massive game that warrants a huge expansion, but still, assuming the DLC launches in February, that will still put it at the base game's 2-year anniversary, which some have argued will hurt its potential sales, but I wholeheartedly disagree. Elden Ring was a massive success, and it's still extremely popular despite being almost 2 years old, which is a testament to how replayable the game is, as well as Elden Ring not getting any major updates in a long time. Over 20 million copies were sold in its first year on the market, and a few more million were sold during year 2, which is wild. According to Steam charts, the PC version of Elden Ring averages over 50,000 players at any given time, and again, that is absolutely wild. In the last 30 days, I've actually seen a massive 53% increase in players. Elden Ring is still an extremely popular game, and it's only going to get more popular once more.
A Knight Commander from Stormvale took it. A fool! And plumb mad to boot. Simply obsessed. What are you waiting for? My fort lies to the south, beyond the Mistwood. Take it back for me. Oh, I see. You wish to know the reward. Fret not. The great Kenneth Height is known for his considerable largesse. The celebrations will be lavish indeed upon the dawn of my fort's retrieval. Yes, now allow me to furnish you with a little advice. I would take great care to avoid Godric's tarnished hunts were I in your shoes. That depraved lot are obsessed with sacrificing tarnished like you for the sake of grafting. Honestly, Godric's nothing more than a jumped-up country bumpkin. Lord? Oh, don't make me laugh. First, he hid himself amongst the womenfolk to flee the capital, then hid from Radahn in that castle. Then he insulted Melania, lost to her in battle, only to lick her boots rather than die like a man. Has he no shame, the big girl's blouse? And to think, he's the blood of Godfrey, last of the golden lineage, though you almost wouldn't know it to look at him. Yeah, I almost feel sorry for the chap the more I think of it. What are you waiting for? My fort.
spoken echoes of Queen Marika linger here as well. Shall I share them with you? Very well, my lord. With thine eye ye will wage war. Well, shall I turn? Let my share them with me.
Hello and welcome back to Ray's Gaming and a new Elden Ring tier list video, and this one is admittedly a very overdue one. We're finally doing a sorcery tier list for the patch 1.08. Things have changed over the last few patches though, lots of differences in 1.07 where many different things were changed, as well as a few specific callouts in 1.08. So this tier list, S, A, B and C, is going to be some of the top. Full late game is not a good pick. Fast cast. Next is Star Shower, which is actually a really good spell where you're trying to harass opponents, giving them something that they need to pay attention to while creating space for you to cast other spells or hit them with a melee attack at the same time. Say you have a really powerful Ash of War you're trying to hit someone with by harassing them with a delayed spell at the same time. They pick their poison and hopefully they pick the one that's best for you. And this was also buffed to increase its poise damage, its attack power and stamina attack power against guarded enemies, so it is a much better spell currently. But I don't really rate it that much in PvE, so again, C tier only. Next up we move to the B tier, where we're going to talk about Magma Shot. This is a fire damage sorcery, which is of course hard. The purpose of this is to be very cheap, very fast, very spammable, harass. It won't deal much damage and it certainly won't stagger enemies, but it will chip them out. But now we get into the good stuff at A tier. Let's start with one that might be controversial, Comet Azure, which I'm putting at A tier and not S tier because this thing has no relevance.
E aí, curtiu? Ele é muito, né? Pois é. Eu falei. Mas aí eu teria que pagar? É, porque assim, como eu tenho a Ju, né? Ela pode tirar umas fotos minhas, mas se for de graça com um fotógrafo foda, seria bom, né? Uhum. É. Ela conversou muito com a Ju, né? Elas ficaram bem amigas até. Tá, fala com ela, mas deixa em aberto pra mim, né? Tipo, ver se tem como, e aí você me fala. E aí você me fala qual dia e eu te digo, tá? Não, mas foca no que você tem que fazer aí, eu foco no que eu tenho que fazer, relaxa. É isso. Tá. Eu acho que agora tem que seguir, né, fazer o que ele pediu, fazer tudo isso e ver o que acontece. Se realmente não acontecer nada por mais 2 meses, aí você pensa de novo o que é, né, a melhor coisa. Então tá, beijinho, se cuida.
In PvP, even in free-for-all or team deathmatch, you're just not going to hit people with this in any consistent or reliable or relevant way. But in PvE, it does remain the absolute powerhouse, where you channel that comet into a target, and there are many ways to improve its damage, there are many ways to improve how long you can channel, and it was an absolute meme sorcery main spell during the launch of the game. It remains to this day an incredible way to chunk through enemy health, and of course is an absolute boss killer to this day. It has its problems and it does require a lot of setup, but its power is undeniable, so I think it deserves to still be an A tier, but I just don't want to put it as an S for that reason. Here's a fantastic spell that deserves an A tier though. This is Adula's Moonblade, which is great in both PvE and PvP. It's like the enhanced version of the Greatsword spell, where you swing and you can swing back again at good range, cleaving through enemies. It also comes with that Icy Mist follow-up, which has some respectable range to it and a sort of slice. This is a top tier pick in PvP for many people, but it also sees a lot of use in PvE. The damage is great, and the frost stats build-up is also fantastic. The thing is, this was made better in 1.07. They reduced the FP cost, they made it have better stamina attack power, and the frost stats on the blade part, that's improved as well. So, as a Frosty Slice option, it's top tier. It might not be the highest DPS potential or absolutely broken, but it is an incredibly common and meta pick for good reason. Therefore, A tier is where I think it belongs. Much like Carrion Piercer. I absolutely love this spell. Also great in PvE and PvP because it's got incredible range, and you can pull it out mid-combo quite surprisingly, catching people out in trades or combos in PvP, dealing incredible damage and sending them flying as well. Or in PvE, much the same. Whether you're using it in combo, spamming it on its own, it has really good range, deals really good piercing damage, and knocks enemies down, which allows you to follow up with another and another and so on. It's a consistent, reliable source of damage and is incredibly useful in so many sections of the game. In 1.07, it was also improved to be cheaper on the FP. It also has better attack power and recovery time, so you're not stuck in it nearly as long as you used to be. This is a really, really good spell then, and while not broken, it's a great pick. Lastly, for A tier then, we have Ranni's Dark Moon. This is great for many reasons. I mean, just the fact that it's a moon spell means it's kind of like a black hole that moves. You're able to offensively deal damage with this thing while absorbing enemy spells, which is awesome.
I don't know how I haven't done one of these yet, so let's just pretend this video came out like 10 months ago. My sorcery mod is actually nearing completion, and what better way to celebrate than gathering all your favorite spells in the game and seeing how many people I can piss off at once by lining them up to the gallows. Yeah, I'm sorry I like being a bubble-blowing double baby as much as the next guy, but a sorcery type with only 2 spells is practically asking for Judgment Day. With magic, you can do anything from casting glow sticks to cloaking yourself to controlling the goddamn weather. 70 sorceries is actually a massive number by FromSoft standards, and it's even bigger for my standard because my average video length is about 1 Yu-Gi-Oh episode long. Oh, you think that fashion video was easy? You know how much time that shit took? Do I look like I'm running a fucking charity? Jesus, take a shower. I can smell you from here. And shave your beard, a bird could nest in that shit. Manscaped is trusted by more than 8 million men across the world for their hygiene products, shower gels, and comfortable ass boxers. That's a big number. And if you've got a beard, then it's probably all over the place and it looks like a moldy carpet someone hasn't cleaned in weeks. Clean that shit up with the Beard Hedger. This weed whacker has over 20 different cutting lengths, all in a single guard, so you don't have to worry about keeping a whole case of attachments for your razor that you'll definitely knock into the toilet at some point.
Oh, son of a bitch!
Beard hair can sometimes grow in patchy or uneven, and it just looks gross. So a little extra effort is always necessary to keep that mane looking presentable. The Beard Hedger Pro kit also comes with dermatologist-approved beard oil and balm. No parabens, no phthalates, no problem. It even smells like almonds and sunflower seeds. That's nice. You even get this shampoo and conditioner that helps you flush out all that weird dirt and oil getting trapped in that mop of yours. And you also get this beard comb, scissors, and brush in case your power goes out or something. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping when you use my code RUSTY20 at checkout. International shipping, you son of a bitch. The worst and the best of anything are always the two most divisive among viewers, so I'm aware that no matter what I put here, someone out there will feel the need to defend it, and I'm okay with that. I make this statement. Number 69, Fia's Mist. Not only does Deathblight build up automatic, but that so little, sadly it is in PvP, that eyeballs are light. Look, rolls deep in the air happen to be the same areas where the lantern, torches, and just turning your shitting brightness up, you marsupial, will shine. Is up to you, but please, crystal celestial sling because of the recantation spell actually immediately you spreading up for the night burst. There is exactly a million that then you ever use weapons doesn't do build PvP investment. You don't even it's fully implemented. I mean, you literally in the trash balls not to block everyone when arguing pulled a caller and a Number 62, Founding Spell once. Oh, that's this one. Glintstone Stars. This is the Pontiac Sun from to the indisputable that you just didn't for like. This one is kind of 9% point accurate. So powerful. Look at this. This blade sorceries meant, and that's if you favor him a dozen. Make Magicka. This fully side them. Once they're aware of you, any attack they have that isn't a standard. Is that everything in Elden Ring has something called flat defense. This is why you see a lot of sorceries like Star. Number 52, Glintstone Arc. The starting astrologer class gives you 2 sorceries. One of them is extremely viable that only increases in both damage and utility as the game throws more shit at you, and the other one is a duelist Moonblade for poor people. I've never used this outside of capturing footage occasionally. Anyways, number 48, Roiling Magma. I'm 90% convinced this sorcery is mechanically broken, and someone on the team is waiting for me to mention it in the video just so they can fix it and make me look like a moron, so here goes nothing. Roiling Magma is great when used properly, and you use it properly by firing it at the ground and pulling people into it with gravity spells, or just predicting where someone's going to be and planting it there. Number 41, Gelmir's Fury. This sorcery is in a much better place than it used to be now that the casting time and projectile speed have been buffed. Number 39, Great Blade Phalanx. You guys remember when this gluttonous bastard needed 43 FP to cast? Well, 30 can still be a bit much at times, but talking about damage to FP efficiency won't get us anywhere with this sorcery, because if you're using it, it sounds like you're less interested in damage and more interested in chaining together spell combos like you just downloaded a style meter mod. The stance damage means you can fight duo and trio bosses without feeling overly cheesy. You can put other great melee sorceries to use like Rock Blaster, Ice Storm, and Shattering Crystal, or you can do none of that and just beat an idiot senseless with Cragblade, watch them develop rubber knees, and save that 30 FP for something more flexible. But if you've ever been interested in phalanx spells, I highly recommend you broaden up your melee magic selection a bit and then come back to this video later to tell me how right I was. Number 38, Scholar's Armament. This one ended up being towards the middle for me just because it took me forever to realize this buff also gives your weapon some extra poise damage on the side, which kind of tightens up the competition a bit because I went into this video fully expecting this spell to land somewhere in the 50s. So now I have to take all the jokes I was gonna make about it and switch. Number 39, Great Blade Phalanx. You guys remember how right I was. Number 38, Scholar's Armament. This one ended up being towards the middle for me just because it took me forever to now I using weapons will only to push the second half of the video. No matter how good phases. So just she better be playing pull all the way up to A's Dark Moon. This person person who they just get excited when something they do causes a big number to flash on the screen, and that's all they care about. With enemies you know are more vulnerable to frostbite, sometimes 270 is all you need. And so a single hit 34, Loretta's Mastery. This sorcery would easily be booted up into the top 15 as soon as we found a way to keep the bottom left arrow from headbutting the fucking floor all the time. Casting this laterally is just a lost cause. Your best bet is to catch a dragon flying and aim high so that all 4 arrows actually reach their intended destination. Avoid the bottom. That's 39 FP, you bet your ass I'm taking my time lining these shots up. This is a real... So there's that. Number 33, Magma Shot. And utility, just gonna keep being buffed multiple... Quest is absolutely 18 FP. Nope, the spell's good. Sleep on this just because they don't want to miss out on the stance breaking potential of Great Blade. I think that's because people tried this sorcery months ago and realized Moltree's Torch. Skeeto's busy in a 1v2, and if you're melee some big boy magic, realize they're going to be stuck in the animation for the next 2 hours, and then just cast this, run straight at them, and enjoy your free damage. Number 31, Crystal Torrent. This is what Common Azer would look like if it actually gave a shit about being viable. That little bit of tracking actually helps it along quite nicely, and you're about one Iron Jar aromatic away from figuring out a speedrun tech for big bosses. Some people might recommend Common Azer over this if you just like big numbers, but I'm actually going to take that recommendation and word it how it should be. Choose Common Azer if you only care about big numbers, because facing the truth here, Crystal Torrent requires a bit more counterplay than just walking to the right. It chews up significantly less FP and only needs a single spell slot while being compatible with all. I don't know what else would be much better than it is just because the name sounded cool. It might not be one of the best sorceries you could choose, but it is my favorite and this is my fucking list. Even so, I'm willing to stay at 28 because even I can recognize some of its severe shortcomings. It stuns even larger enemies pretty reliably and have a great pretty ugly, and most damage can get real balls and ashes of war. So if you feel like a bit boring, negation of all shield buff, like nothing dog fuck over cancer land. I think a lot of people use in builds that are actually serious, as well as being my favorite crystal spell. You can straight up one-tap bitches from melee range if they get silly. If it isn't something heavily armored like a Crucible Knight, it's just going to get eviscerated. On very rare occasions, the RNG of the bullet spread will be extremely nice to you, and you'll get point-blank damage from a cast that was a good 10 feet away from whatever you were firing at. Obviously, this can also work against you on equally rare occasions where you can literally see the port. It still can feel like this one has always made me a little concerned. Trying to pump enemies. Only use Fling, Dragon Claw. Like I said, I don't play too much PvP, but from what I've heard online, spamming this spell at opponents is just about the easiest way to get people to loathe you as a person next to Rivers of Blood. It has the tracking Stars of Ruin wishes it had, even that legendary sorcery that does a surprisingly high amount of great talismans for it. It's a multi-hit sorcery, so as usual, don't expect it faster. I'm placing this one slightly above Shadow niche, no matter how skull. Number 24, Ancient Death Rancor. This is what Rancor Call would be like if it actually had damage worth a fuck. These little demons go much further than people think they do. The insane tracking and longer than that guarantee for a change. Never played a game in their life. The damage I heard the Rancor monitor your opponent to simulate what it would be like playing Elden Ring with a black curtain hanging records ran for their monitor. Number 23, Carian Greatsword. The most inferior of all Carian sword sorceries, and it still slaps your ass till it bleeds. A lot of melee casters tend to have trouble choosing between this and Gavel, but I think what ultimately matters is the kind of moron you're looking to hunt. If you're after breaking someone's kneecaps, I would almost always choose Gavel, because the first swing will sometimes break stances, leaving your opponent open to being extra pancaked by the follow-up. I personally prefer Greatsword because it's able to deal heavy damage, while the width of the swing makes it better for crowd control, and the slightly delayed casting speed can really punish aggressive enemies with shitty poise like the Omen and Leyndell Sewers. The casting animation is virtually indistinguishable from a Duela's Moonblade, meaning you can psych people out in duels by first casting Greatsword and then switching to Moonblade, and they likely won't expect the slash projectile unless they're really paying attention. Number 22, Rykard's Rancor. This is the second most underrated spell on this list. If you're not unlucky enough for the sorcery to immediately take a nosedive into the floor, then you basically have the benefit of nothing touching you for like the next 30 seconds. Fire damage in and of itself is a great utility, there it is again, because if you're a sorcerer, then you're taking advantage of almost none of it. This makes the mountaintop area a cheese goddamn sandwich, because everything minus the fire monks is just gonna piss themselves shitless when they're hit with anything fire related. Deathrite birds get vanquished by this, avatars get burned alive, Borealis doesn't know what the fuck's happening, and it even helps out by providing healing cover in NPC fights like Okina and Vike. If you're a sorcerer that's allergic to making good decisions like investing in faith, reconsider how you're living your life. I'm not giving you tax advice or telling you to invest in Rusty Coin, I'm just telling you how great a sorcery this is and how tragic it is that 21, Comet. If it lands, it'll ruin that fucker's day. If it doesn't, you'll ruin your own day because you now have 24 less FP. Yeah, this son of a bitch needs 24 FP per cast. That should be fucking illegal. Why does such a rudimentary spell need to have this many upgrades? Pebble was good for early game until you find GGS, then in sorceries really of them just that hard for upgrade till the HP. It's a lot. Why is it come dump Mendes Stone Pebble? Yep, that's where it is. I'm get it. That's some Glintstone Pebble looks like. You have while fuck's sake. Down, not taking criticism, not interested in debates, go fuck yourself. Most underrated spell at the very watch. Make it level deserves to be using it high it, like 3 in the entire video. It throws out a nice Buzz Moonblade, probably the most well-rounded sorcery in the entire bit, and the slash through a crowd of defenseless zombie-looking douche. Thing this channel takes seriously, it's preying on the less fortunate. Number 17, Loretta's Great Bow. Imagine all the drawbacks about Loretta's mastery just vanished one day and left you with a lower FP cost, lower stat requirement, single projectile railgun that fired great sound design as bullets. Here's a more relatable scenario. Imagine building Magica. Number 16, Gravity Well. I favor this one over Collapsing Stars because even if the former can rack up more damage, the tracking on Gravity Well, in addition to it being one simple projectile, makes it much easier to consistently score hits with. It's a nice, reliable, low FP crowd spell. Number 15, Gavel of Hema. Finally, now I have everything I said. Those conclude. Yes, speed is where you aim. Fucking long enough, I'm just going to make this one a double feature and just go ahead and put GGS at 13 because they're the exact same goddamn spell and I'm tired of pretending they aren't. You can either kill shit or kill shit but with extra steps. GGS travels slower, but they both have almost exactly the same range. Comet Shard, however, has slightly shittier tracking, having a homing angle of 25 while the GGS clocks in at 35. And I'm literally comparing the two faster to be form. All I need to, and if can't use around like 3,000 of Hema. I have a busy life, not a lot of spells first. And I hear people, no, God, you whatever, and it's now been slinging fucking rocks. This is somehow one of the greatest spells in the game, and it's literally chucking rocks. If you can get past the awkward curve they do when homing onto targets, this sorcery is actually extremely best. You can spell being throw rocks is stupid how good this spell is. In case I have some math nerds out there, this sorcery only needs to do that too because it was complicated enemies enough. Since they rush at but it slow. Well, fuck you, 9 and travel. It fucking you not like Aryan sword sorcery. 92 max time, that's a max which use it existence design. Oh, it's ass. Has no right being up here. I hope everyone knows that. This little kid because the balancing team can dine on my testing loop. Great with hidden tier because you can nuke a dragon 20 levels higher than you and it'll be wrong. Something avoided by walking in a direction until he's smaller. Clearer than Meteorite of Estelle. Number 3, Night Shard. So just really quick before I get comments on this, boot up Elden Ring, circling the cost image of Glintstone fudging AI. This means as long as you aren't sitting in your chair backwards facing the wall, every single shard you cast the compulsory has achieved levels of ridiculousness I previously didn't think was possible. 180 magic damage per cast, and this thing has the speed of a dagger. You can buy it for like 1,500 runes, gets boosted by Kari and Glintstone Staff. This motherfucker uses 4 FP. You have a jump attack, you have a running attack, and a roll attack. The only thing it's missing is power stance compatibility. Why would people ever use a weapon like Moonveil when shit like this exists? It's compatible with Wingsword talismans and every single magic buff you've heard me list off somewhere in this godforsaken feature film. Best FP efficiency sorcery in the whole library, easily the highest DPS of any melee sorcery, and I still see people asking for a buff. That's how you really know how high your bar is. Kari and Slicer can single-handedly carry you on its back for the whole game and even bicep curl you a few times for style points. And you'll still have people taking notes and being like, this could use more poise though. People here will fall into 2 camps. The ones that didn't see this coming and are wondering why a sorcery they barely remember is getting mentioned in the number 1 slot above 13 other spells they've been one-shot with in PvP. And the second camp, the ones who knew this decision was fated before they even clicked on the video. Number 1 is Night Comet. I could spend the next 3 minutes number crunching and walking you through all the math required to explain why Night Comet is the highest damage comet sorcery in the game, but I think it's easier if I just say this. Power stancing stabs. Night Comet is already powerful enough with the Staff of Loss or with the Prince of Death Staff with 80 intelligence and faith, but by ignoring the strategy of double staffing, you are refused Wingsword talismans and every single magic while having the cat going, but some things in this universe. Number 4, Meteorite of Estelle. Better tracking, infinite casting loop, great. Number 5, Swift Glintstone and enemies and deals damage potential entire game. And we haven't even made it to Slicer yet. I don't think this because it has some absurd potential. 9 You're too slow. Glintstone Pebble has a base. How good this spell is. In case I have some math nerds out there watching this, he's stupid. Number 10, Rock Sling. Slingin' fucking rocks.
So, yeah, I did actually see this. This happened yesterday. Ubisoft, you know what? I'm actually going to do something that people don't do. I'm going to read the context in what the guy said about people not owning games. Because, like, I never really read the context. We're going to read the context and see why he said this. Let's listen to what the guy actually said. There's a lot of debate around subscription in video games. Today, the business model is the dominant way of paying for TV. You mean subscriptions, right? Business model paying for TV or music. But that's currently not the case in this industry. So he's talking about subscriptions being the norm in like TV and music, but not with video games. True. Games are typically much longer, and many of them are free or feature some other form of monetization, and AAA publishers have argued that the numbers just don't add up. Nevertheless, Ubisoft is seeing growth in this sector. Turnblade says with October this year was the biggest month in Ubisoft. Well, we don't really need a fucking... I could have told you this. Obviously, this is true. How do you know this? Because look at look at Game Pass. Game Pass is massive. I think everybody knows it. The point is not to force users to go down one route or another. We offer purchase, we offer subscription.
Fala, gatito. Beleza, mano? Tô aqui na loucura. Vai matar o God? Posso, mano? Lógico. Cara, o Godric... Faz tempo que eu matei ele aqui, né? Agora, papai. Eu só nunca fiz isso, tipo, de matar junto, tipo, não sei se tu tem que me chamar, como é que é pra gente matar ele juntos. Abre o menu, multiplayer, bota a senha hell. É isso? Senha hell. É bom que eu já aprendo, tá ligado? Eu nunca entrei no mundo. Vai lá na porta e usa o dedo enrolado. Beleza. Nessa porta aqui, né? Provavelmente. Ou na outra. Beleza, eu vou lá. Esse daqui. Tá aqui, né? Show. Vamos ver, eu nunca fiz isso, hein? Eu vou lançar o... Eu não sei se eu lanço o Lobo ou eu lanço o Knight. Eu acho que eu vou lançar o Knight. Vai ser fácil, eu acho. Em 3 hits eu acho que eu mato ele já. Ué, eu tirei? Ou tu entrou? E tem essa parada, mano. Eu pensei que era crossplay, pô. Caralho. Pô, aí pede. Não, tamo junto. Vou ficar crossplay na Alô? Oi? E aí, querido, beleza? Tô bem, tudo show. E aí, como é que você tá? Então, tô em casa, acabei de sair aqui de uma reuniãozinha. E agora eu vou lá dar um passeio. Beijo. Cara, depende, né? Às vezes eu acordo cedo, às vezes eu acordo tarde, mas acho que o padrão então, segunda geralmente não é bom, porque eu tenho consulta toda segunda já. Consulta toda segunda já, né? Psicólogo. Cara, pode ser uma boa, mas é 10h30 aquele horário, né? Aquele horário meio complicado, às vezes. Né? Às vezes eu não consigo acordar, cara. Se não tem mais tarde... não, eu tô tentando mudar pra isso, né? Eu tô tentando mudar pra isso. É. Não entendi. Então, às vezes eu não consigo, né, mano? Eu tenho muita insônia, cara. É, tipo, rola muito, sabe? Às vezes tem dias que eu já fico cansado cedo e eu já consigo apagar, né? Mas, cara, muitos dias eu fico rolando muito, assim, na cama, né? É, mas eu tô tentando melhorar. É uma coisa que eu não queria me comprometer com você se eu não tiver, né, certeza que eu vou conseguir cumprir, sabe? Eu sou meio assim, eu vou falar, ah, beleza, vamos fazer, e aí depois eu não consigo, né, acordar e fazer. É, então, vamos ver isso. Vamos ver isso. Então, semana que vem agora eu vou pra São Paulo, né? Porque eu tenho que ver minha sobrinha. Eu não vi ela até hoje, a filha do Jaiminho, que nasceu. E então, meu plano era ir ou domingo, né, agora, ou ir segunda de madrugada, porque eu ainda não decidi se eu vou de carro ou vou de avião. Aí eu devo ficar lá até uma, acho que eu queria voltar pra quinta ou sexta, né, pra estar aqui no final de semana. Aí ou a gente pode começar, né, no comecinho da outra semana, ou se você tiver um horário, de repente, na quinta ou na sexta, né, que eu já vou estar de volta, eu acho, eu posso te ajudar. E aí a gente vê a partir disso. Tá? É, eu posso ver isso certinho. Que aí mais pra frente, de repente, eu consiga, né, fazer com mais facilidade, mais cedo, mais sessões, né? Mas aí é isso, aí eu te dou um toque, qualquer coisa, quando eu fechar minha volta e a gente combina. Tá, eu vou... Aham. Tá, beleza. Tá fechado então, meu querido. Aí eu te confirmo então. Tá bom? Pô, obrigado, viu, Mauro? Eu queria muito, de repente, ver uma conexão com o Scott, sabe? Talvez, se rolar, seria muito interessante pra mim ter uma coisa assim. Ah, uma conexão com o meu cachorro, né? Que eu não consegui ter antes. Tá. Então tá, meu querido. Então tá bom. Maneiro. Fechado. Vamos falando então. Valeu, meu querido. Grande abraço, viu? Obrigado. Obrigadão, viu? Valeu. Beijão. Tchau, tchau.
All right, guys, Wes here. Welcome back to the channel, and it looks like the wait might finally be over for the big reveal for the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. So we're going to talk about that big reveal, as well as, according to some new leaks, the DLC is about to get even bigger. As you know, Elden Ring was one of From Software's biggest games to date, and it's also hands down their best-selling. This open-world adaptation of the classic Dark Souls formula managed to sell over 20 million copies in its first year on the market, and earlier this year, the studio officially confirmed that a paid DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, was in development. From Software often releases huge expansions for their games, so this really isn't surprising, but with the sheer amount of hype around Elden Ring in particular, many fans like myself are eager to hear more about the DLC, so we're gonna go over everything. Real quick, guys, I'm giving away a PlayStation 5 Slim to one lucky subscriber as soon as I hit 140,000 subs. To enter, it's super easy. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, comment your Twitter handle, tweet me, or send me proof that you're subscribed, and I've also got some further details and bonus entries in the pinned comment. Check the video chapters for easy viewing, and without further delay, let's get started. So starting things off, as you probably were aware, Shadow of the Erdtree was first announced in February of 2023, which was around the 1-year anniversary of Elden Ring's launch, but ever since then, we've all been kind of flying in the dark in regards to when we could expect to see this thing and get a better idea of when it's going to be launching. So the big question is, when will we get the big reveal? Well, with the Game Awards right around the corner on December 7th, I think it's safe to say that our first glimpse of the DLC will be during that event. Multiple insiders have stated that they expect that Shadow of the Erdtree will be shown off relatively soon, so a reveal at the Game Awards in December and then a launch in February of 2024 would make sense, and it would align with what those insiders have been saying. February 2024 would be the second anniversary since the game's release in 2022, not to mention if you look at the history of Elden Ring's marketing schedule and just how From Software does marketing, they've utilized the Game Awards before for their big reveals, so if the DLC is coming in February, they might as well use the biggest stage in gaming for the reveal. I personally think that Jeff Keighley has secured this DLC reveal at the Game Awards. However, with GTA 6 allegedly being revealed in early December, maybe FromSoft will make the decision to hold things off, but like I said, it's hard saying. If the insiders are right and we do get a reveal during the Game Awards, I'm fully expecting a February 2024 release date. Next up, let's talk about the official development update from none other than the Kadokawa company, which is From Software's parent company. This has been our first update regarding the development of Shadow of the Erdtree, because outside of this, as well as some job postings, everything has just been kind of comms dark. But recently, the parent company for From Software held a earnings call where they gave a development update on Shadow of the Erdtree, which was as expected in that the development was proceeding smoothly. Now, this is basically just PR talk. They obviously don't want to overextend themselves, because providing further clarification would possibly get people and investors to think that the DLC is coming very soon, when the reality is we just don't know. This is PR jargon for them saying, let From Software cook. Now, Shadow of the Erdtree has been a core component in terms of investor relations, because they've been using this as a talking point for quite a while, as many investors seem to think the DLC is really going to be a big deal when it drops, and they're definitely correct about that. So we have From Software's parent company openly talking about how well the development is going on the game. We have a known From Software leaker and insider saying the reveal is coming next month, and the DLC will likely drop in February. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that everything is all coming together. If the parent company didn't mention Shadow of the Erdtree during the earnings call, or rather the Elden Ring DLC during that earnings call, I would say that the DLC is probably further out than we all expect it to be, but now that we're told that it's proceeding smoothly, that right there is at least good news. I do have some doubts about when the expansion will release, as well as if we get the reveal during the Game Awards, but I'll talk about that just a bit later. Now let's talk about the biggest part of this video, and that is the size of this DLC. From Software is known for making gigantic games that make people sink thousands of hours into it, so it shouldn't be that surprising that the first Elden Ring DLC has taken so long to develop. According to HowLongToBeat.com, Elden Ring's main story is roughly 58 hours long, assuming you're not doing any of the side quests, and it'll take you well over 100 hours if you want to see all the game has to offer, and so much more if you are a completionist and you just really enjoy Elden Ring. So naturally, a DLC for a game, or rather an expansion this big, is also going to be pretty huge. And according to another From Software insider, they recently kind of spilled the beans on just how big this thing will be, or at least how they think it will be. So recently, a Souls content creator known as Fighting Cowboy recently stated on a podcast that the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC is going to be over 20 hours long. Although the podcast was taken offline, we don't know why it was taken offline, but it's just not online anymore. Fighting Cowboy also stated on Twitter that they were expecting Shadow of the Erdtree to basically be half the size of the base game, which is absolutely ridiculous and would make it easily the biggest From Software DLC to date. This content creator has previously been invited out to play From Software games, so they definitely have connections to the company, although I'm not going to speculate on whether or not this was insider information, or if it was just indeed speculation on Fighting Cowboy's part. My guess was this was all just speculation, as well as educated guesses based on From Software's previous work, as well as how long the DLC has taken to develop. Having a DLC that's 20 to 30 hours long would be absolutely insane by modern gaming standards, but it would also be pretty par for the course with From Software. This is the same company that is known for putting out expansions and DLC that can add dozens of hours of playtime to their games. And as I'm sure you guys already know, just because the story takes 20 to 30 hours to get through doesn't mean that's all that there's going to be for you to do. Again, Elden Ring is a game that people put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into, regardless of how long the actual main story is. So if the DLC is roughly half the size of the base game, that could easily be another few hundred hours worth of content for the diehards. Elden Ring is about to get a lot bigger, and I cannot wait to see what From Software has been cooking for all of this time. With all of this talk about the size of the Elden Ring DLC, this does raise an interesting question about pricing though, as we don't really know how much Bandai Namco is going to want to charge for something like this. In the past, From Software DLCs have been pretty reasonably priced, but it's also been almost a decade since Dark Souls 3 and its expansions, so needless to say, times have changed. Video games are getting more expensive by the year, and paid content like Shadow of the Erdtree have been kind of falling out of style. I personally remember when basically every AAA story game was given a DLC, or was at least expected to have at least one paid expansion by the time the sequel came out, but obviously those days are long behind us. So I honestly have no idea how much Bandai Namco is going to want to charge for Shadow of the Erdtree, but my gut's saying that it's somewhere between $30 and $50. There's no way they charge a full $60 or $70, but given how big it actually is, as well as the fact that new games are costing $70 nowadays, they're likely going to want that number closer to the $40 range. It's possible that they even crank it up to $50, but that might be pushing it given the fact that the base game will be basically 2 years old by the time the DLC drops. I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are on this whole situation behind the DLC cost and just how it's going to be priced. Do you guys think it's going to be 40, possibly 30? Fingers crossed that Bandai is feeling generous, but also possibly $50 if they're feeling a tad bit greedy. I personally think $40 is probably going to be the sweet spot for something like this, because we have to remember that Bandai is marketing this DLC not only to people who have played the game before, but also to people who may want to pick it up for the first time and try it out with all of this new content, meaning they don't want the price tag to be too insane because that might push potential new buyers away from it. But also Elden Ring sold over 20 million copies, so the installed user base is already pretty freaking huge, so they may be feeling confident about charging more for the expansion, since they may be thinking that everyone who would have bought the game would have already done it already. But again, let me know your thoughts on the price in the comments, because in a perfect world it'll cost $40, but depending on how Bandai is feeling, as well as whether or not they're going to call it an expansion or if it still will stay a DLC, might end up being $10 more or less. As of right now, Shadow of the Erdtree is just a DLC, but I can easily see From Software put the extra time in development and make it a whole expansion. That way they can charge a bit extra and make the expansion eligible for nominations for Game of the Year, just like Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. I'm sure they want this content to be a massive hit just like the base game, but the only way that they do that is if they make sure the pricing is right, as well as the content in the DLC lives up to the critical acclaim of the base game. Now that we've talked about the reveal, the pricing, the size of the DLC, I'd like to now shift focus to the release window again. Let's say the insiders are right and February is going to be the release date for the Elden Ring DLC. February is likely going to be a great release window for this game, because while 2024 has some awesome games on the lineup, the first few months are pretty open. January has some pretty high profile games like Prince of Persia and Like of Dragon, and sure, February has Kill the Justice League and Helldivers 2, but there is nothing on the same level as Elden Ring. And as proven by Armored Core 6, people will flock to basically anything with From Software's name on it, even if they know nothing about the series. I'm expecting Elden Ring to get the same kind of major attention that new releases get, despite the fact that it's an expansion similar to how the long-awaited Cyberpunk expansion got a ton of big marketing pushes to get people back onto the base game. Leading up to the release of Shadow of the Erdtree, we'll likely get a ton of advertisements for Elden Ring to make sure that everyone is thinking about the base game, and then once the DLC or expansion drops, it will be the only thing on anyone's mind. Now, if we don't get a reveal during the Game Awards this year, I still think it's safe to assume that a 2024 release is happening. Maybe they need to shift things due to development timelines and reveal Shadow of the Erdtree during Summer Game Fest, and then release it later on in the year of 2024. It's really hard saying. At this point, From Software has worked on the DLC for nearly 2 years, so they should be wrapping things up relatively soon. That is, unless the DLC is bigger than we all expect it to be. And if that's the case, we could be waiting more like 8 to 12 months from now to be playing it. I am personally just happy that we are getting new Elden Ring content, even if the DLC isn't as big as we were hoping. It'll give me another reason to jump back on the game and experience the world with fresh content, which is really exciting. But what do you guys think? Are you excited for Shadow of the Erdtree? What kind of new content do you want to see from it? And how much are you willing to pay for Shadow of the Erdtree? Are we going to get a reveal during the Game Awards, or will we have to wait a bit longer? Don't forget to enter the 140,000 subscriber PS5 Slim giveaway. I'll be giving
Tá vazando. Tá, depois você me mostra, então aí eu faço. Tá. Que mais que eu ia te falar?
Ah. Good to see you. Apologies, mate. But I don't have much to report. I can see bloody Nokron right above me. But I'm absolutely stumped. I've tried all the gateways, to no avail. Perhaps it's time to ask Celavis. I recall that spiteful little rat acting like he knew something. Let's give him a squeeze. Show him just how sharp my teeth are. I jest. I wouldn't go that far. Besides, I should check on some things here. Leave this place to me. You just do what you feel is right. If either of us learns anything, we tell the other. Right? Leave this place to me. You just do what you feel is right. If either of us, and if we reach, Celavis rarely gives.
impactoso. O que ele foi dito? Ué, tá, mas agora não, né? Eu tô streamando, com licença. Ué, e eu acabei de começar a streamar. Tá vendo, gente? É isso, chegar achando que é a dona do mundo, né? Aí, ó. Vou chegar no meu stream, vou perder o único view que sou eu. Vida, energia, eu tô com energia ruim. Pô, aí, na moral, uma vacilona, cara. Tá bom, eu vou parar então.
Ah, are you heading to the Festival of Combat? No need to be judging by the fine wallop you gave the old backside earlier. I would venture you're something of a warrior yourself. The mere thought of such a... Now, according to my calculations, passing through this road should lead us to the Kaled Wilds. I'm sorry to have raised your... It seems my calculation. I was created many... It's my destiny. It is my... And then? What do you think, eh? I was... Many... It's my destiny. It is my ordeal.
Yes, right this way. Welcome. But please, I'm hungry. Ah, how nice, Lise.
Desce, lixa. Ele passou lá, tipo, na hora da preparação. Agora você não tem mais. mais vida. certo, então American Nightmare. Vou botar aqui, tá? Tá bem?